Why is mindset so important in business, and why do accountants talk about it in this day and age? Now, when we were studying accounting, you didn't really think that you'd be getting into what's happening up here for a client or a business owner and having a look at the way that they think. Now, the interesting thing when you are an accountant is that you get to see under the hood of a lot of businesses. Now, really interestingly, through the pandemic, it was very clear that some business owners were doing very well and others weren't doing so well. And some saw the world was about to be over and it was all rigged and it's all set up and all of this sort of stuff. And they were down these sorts of paths. And hey, like maybe some of that's true, but interestingly, when Phil and I would look under the hood of some businesses, you would have two business owners competing effectively in the same marketplace, and one might be doing well and the other not doing so well. So it was very evident that something didn't match up. Now, when we keep trying to dig into what was going on here, often you would see that it was the way that the business owner was looking at their industry and at the world and whether there were opportunities as to then the outputs that were showing up in their financial metrics, i.e. their profit and loss and the cash flow. Now, to give you a simplistic context to this, we would speak to one of the business owners that was doing well, and they would tell you about the opportunities that they could see. They've tried this, that didn't really work, but then by trying that, they learned this, and so then they went and spoke to this person, and they're starting to compound lessons and take them into their next action or form of action. But their continual belief was that things could be done, there was hope, and things could be achieved. Now, they couldn't even really see that other people were struggling, and I'll come back to that in a second too, and why that's really important for business owners to understand. Now, the other business owner may not be doing so well, and the conversation with them would be around how there's no opportunity, things aren't going well in the industry, we tried this, it didn't work, that used to work, it doesn't work anymore, we're hoping it will change, we're frustrated by it all, I was talking to this person, it's not working for them either, it's all bullshit at the moment, I can't believe we're in this position, etc, etc, etc. And obviously their metrics and their outputs that we would look at wouldn't be great, and there'd be more worry, there'd be more anxiety about it. So then the brain would start looking at overdrafts, debt solutions, cutting corners, paying less tax. What if we do this differently? I'm thinking about leasing my house back to myself through a trust owned by a company and then renting it out 46 days of the what are you talking about? Like all of this weird stuff. And the other business owner that's doing well is just like, right, I've just got to keep going and things are happening. Now, we're seeing the same thing through this recession as well. And interestingly, when we work with a lot of business owners who are doing well, one of the things that they get the most fulfillment out of is when we explain to them, hey, you're actually doing really well here. And often good business owners don't have a yardstick to compare themselves to, and so they still have this little bit of fear that they're not doing that well. And then when you start explaining, okay, well, here's what some other people are doing and what they're seeing, so you're doing pretty well, they're like, oh, okay. And it might be that they've got cash stacked aside for a rainy day, they've got their pipeline full, they've got their marketing all set up and they're going for it. Things aren't going as well as they were, but they're still trying to get through, and they know where they're going, and they're not getting distracted, and they're not getting caught out by shiny objects and all these sorts of things. And then a business owner is like, oh, okay, so I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. Correct, if it's working well. Now, a very simple form of business planning that we teach business owners and clients about is, if you want to boil it all down and just slow down and get outside all of the things that you could be thinking about, have a think about what works well in your business and what doesn't work well in your business. What can you start doing more of that you already know works well and has worked well in the past, and what can we do less of that isn't working well? Because as business owners, we love to look at adding more and doing more and putting more on our plate, and that's going to lead to more revenue and etc, etc. But often by doing more, we can get less. So sometimes we have to slow a business owner down and say, hey, less is more. So again, that's a mindset, because most people believe, well, you need to do more to get more, but sometimes you actually have to do less, but you've got to do more of the important things that actually move the dial of your business. A lot of business owners add in things that aren't actually going to move the needle and move the dial, and so then they feel like, I'm always busy, I'm always wearing these hats, I'm doing more and more and more, but less is sort of happening. And you see this where sometimes people don't understand about the margin that they're selling in their product, and so they will they'll start adding in more things, and then all of a sudden you say, well, what's the margin of each of these different products? And they don't really know. Well, a really fundamental place to start would be to understand the margin of the thing that you are selling, and then stick to the thing that's selling really well, that the market's demanding, and then you're going to have more margin to subsidize you should things not be going so well in other areas of the business. But what we'll do is Sally will come in and they'll say, I want this or that, and we go, oh, we could do that. Well, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Again, that's another mindset. So you've got to be thinking about that too. What do we actually want to be here for? What's the purpose for ourselves, for the business, and what client are we trying to solve problems for, rather than solving all of these problems. So sometimes by solving them all and doing more and more of this stuff, we actually then ruin the margin of the rest of the business, because we are then needing it to subsidize the failing parts of our business. So the overall margin decreases because we're focused on things that we know deep down we shouldn't really be doing. So it's a good idea to strip out the things that you don't need to be and shouldn't be doing, but you are doing because someone said that you should, but you didn't think about whether you should yourself, someone else told you, and you haven't asked yourself, well, is this actually what I want to be doing? Now, to bring this back to mindset some more, what ends up happening with how you see the world. So at the moment we're in a recession, or have been. We're technically out of it now data-wise because we don't have 2 negative quarters. Now, that said, the economy is contracting and it's tough. It's starting to turn, hopefully. But through this last couple of years, we've still had clients doing really well. And some of them will come in and say, oh, we're looking for opportunities. We found this one over here. I had a client reach out yesterday and explain how they're about to have one of their biggest projects confirmed. And part of it's come from backing themselves and the fact that they add heaps of value and staying consistent and continuing to do what they've done over the last couple of years. Yes, it's been tough, but now they're about to be rewarded. Now, this client actually is in the perfect sort of industry where they have every reason to believe that they should probably just shut it all down for now, wait for interest rates to drop, wait for everything to get simpler, and actually, you know what, go and get a job for a bit and then come back when the market is better. But that's not their mindset, and that's not how they want to act. They know that they're going to face another recession at some stage through their life, so they need to learn how to get through this recession that we're currently in and continue to operate. And so that is what they have focused on. But again, how we see the world is often how it will show up for us. So if we constantly believe that everything is against us and that it's shit and that we can't get ahead and that there's no sales, things aren't happening at the moment, well, we're going to go and find more data to validate that. Now, recently I've seen a couple of fresher businesses to construction telling me that social media doesn't work in construction, which, okay, I'm like, oh, okay, what did you try? Crickets. Oh, interesting. You didn't try anything, but then you believe that it doesn't work. How do you know if you don't try? Because I'll tell you what, the good thing for Phil and I is that we get to see data and lots of it. And we get to see successful businesses and businesses that aren't doing so well. And guess what? We get to unpack what they're doing well that works and what they're doing that doesn't work so well. And guess what? We get to see people building out businesses using social media in all sorts of different industries and even in construction. So when I ask these people, okay, well, show me what you're doing, if they're willing to learn, they're then open to what the suggestions are that they could be doing or who they could speak to. I say, go and speak to this business owner and ask them how they make sense of it. Do you think they'll make the call? The person who wants to grow and learn and has the right mindset, they will. The person who wants to believe that it can't be done, they're already looking for reasons it can't be done. So now I start saying to those people, I'm like, all right, no worries, more for us. Often no reply to that too. But a person who doesn't want social media to work for their business is going to find all the reasons why it can't work, or the people who say that it can't. But if you believe, here's a good tactic. If you believe something doesn't work, go and speak to somebody who you can see that it's working for. Ask them how they make sense of it and how they approach it and why they continue to do it. You've got to get yourself out of your own beliefs and your own mindset and have a look at somebody that's not yourself to then go and find, okay, how do you approach this? Go and actually collect the data. Too many of us are impacted by what's happening in the media, what people are saying, Barry down at the bar. Recently I was talking to a business owner, they don't want to hire because the people that they spend time with, this is a business that could easily be scaled, and they want to have more leverage, and they want to get more of their time back, and they want to have a team, but they won't commit yet because the people that they hang out with, having a beer with on a Friday, guess what they're telling them? Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a waste. I've done it before. People are assholes. They'll rip you off. They'll take from you. You'll have more hassle than it's worth. All of this stuff. Now, their data is not your data. But if you adopt their mindset, then you're going to get the outcomes that they have as well. So be very, very careful where you build your mindset from and what the data is that you're collecting to lead you to have that mindset. Mindset is so, so important in all of our lives, in all areas of our life, but specifically in business. There's a very good, astute saying in business, and that is that often people don't have business problems, they have personal problems that they bring into their business.